In cryptography, Rc4 is a stream cipher. While remarkable for its simplicity and speed in software, multiple vulnerabilities have been discovered in Rc4, rendering it insecure. It is especially vulnerable when the beginning of the output key stream is not discarded, or when non-random or relative keys are used. Particularly problematic uses of Rc4 have led to very insecure protocols such as WEP. As of 2015 update, there is speculation that some state cryptologic agencies may possess the capability to break Rc4 when used in the TLS protocol. IETF has published RFC 7465 to prohibit the use of Rc4 in TLS. Mozilla and Microsoft have issued similar recommendations. In 2014, Ronald Rivest gave a talk and published a paper on an updated redesign called Spritz History. Rc4 was designed by Ron Rivest of RSA Security in 1987. While it is officially termed Rivest Cipher 4, the RC acronym is alternatively understood to stand for Ron's Code. Rc4 was initially a trade secret, but in September 1994 a description of it was anonymously posted to the cypherpunks mailing list. It was soon posted on the sci.crypt news group, and from there to many sites on the Internet. The leaked code was confirmed to be genuine as its output was found to match that of proprietary software using licensed Rc4. Because the algorithm is known, it is no longer a trade secret. The name Rc4 is trademarked, so Rc4 is often referred to as ARCFOUR or ARC4 to avoid trademark problems. RSA Security has never officially released the algorithm. Rivest has, however, linked to the English Wikipedia article on Rc4 in his own course notes in 2008 and confirmed the history of Rc4 and its code in a 2014 paper by him. Rc4 became part of some commonly used encryption protocols and standards, such as WEP in 1997 and WPA in 2003-2004 for wireless cards, and SSL in 1995 and its successor TLS in 1999, until it was prohibited for all versions of TLS by RFC 7465 in 2015, due to the Rc4 attacks weakening or breaking Rc4 used in SSL, TLS. The main factors in Rc4's success over such a wide range of applications have been its speed and simplicity. Efficient implementations in both software and hardware were very easy to develop. Description: Rc4 generates a pseudorandom stream of bits. As with any stream cipher, these can be used for encryption by combining it with the plaintext using bitwise exclusive, or decryption is performed the same way. To generate the key stream, the cipher makes use of a secret internal state which consists of two parts: a permutation of all 256 possible bytes, two 8-bit index pointers. The permutation is initialized with a variable length key, typically between 40 and 256 bits, using the key scheduling algorithm. Once this has been completed, the stream of bits is generated using the pseudo-random generation algorithm. Key scheduling algorithm: the key scheduling algorithm is used to initialize the permutation in the array S. Key length is defined as the number of bytes in the key and can be in the range 1 key length 256, typically between 5 and 16, corresponding to a key length of 40 to 128 bits. First, the array S is initialized to the identity permutation. S is then processed for 256 iterations in a similar way to the main PRGA, but also mixes in bytes of the key at the same time. For I from 0 to 255 S, I equals I and for J equals 0. For I from 0 to 255 J equals mod 256. Swap values of S, I, and S SJ, end for pseudo-random generation algorithm. For as many iterations as are needed, the PRGA modifies the state and outputs a byte of the key stream. In each iteration, the PRGA increments I, looks up the ith element of S, I, and adds that to J, exchanges the values of S, I, and S, J, and then uses the sum S, I, plus S, J, as an index to fetch a third element of S, which is bitwise exclusive ORed with the next byte of the message to produce the next byte of either ciphertext or plaintext. Each element of S is swapped with another element at least once every 256 iterations. I equals 0, J equals 0 while generating output. I equals mod 256, J equals mod 256, swap values of S, I, and S, J, K equals S, mod 256, output K, and while Rc4 based random number generators. Several operating systems include Arc4 Random, an API originating in OpenBSD providing access to a random number generator originally based on Rc4. In OpenBSD 5.5, released in May 2014, Arc4 Random was modified to use char20. As of January 2015 update, the implementation of Arc4 Random in NETBSD also uses char20. However, the implementations of Arc4 Random in FreeBSD, Linux's libBSD, and Mac OS X are still based on Rc4. Proposed new random number generators are often compared to the Rc4 random number generator. Unfortunately, several attacks on Rc4 are able to distinguish its output from a random sequence implementation. Many stream ciphers are based on linear feedback shift registers, which, while efficient in hardware, are less so in software. The design of Rc4 avoids the use of LFSRs, and is ideal for software implementation, as it requires only byte manipulations. It uses 256 bytes of memory for the state array, S0, through S255, K bytes of memory for the key, Key0, through key, K1, and integer variables, I, J, and K, performing a modular reduction of some value modulo 256 can be done with a bitwise and with 255. Security. Unlike a modern stream cipher, Rc4 does not take a separate nonce alongside the key. This means that if a single long-term key is to be used to securely encrypt multiple streams, the protocol must specify how to combine the nonce and the long-term key to generate the stream key for Rc4. One approach to addressing this is to generate a fresh Rc4 key by hashing a long-term key with a nonce. However, many applications that use Rc4 simply concatenate key and nonce. Rc4's weak key schedule then gives rise to related key attacks, like the Flura, Manton, and Shamir attack. Because Rc4 is a stream cipher, it is more malleable than common block ciphers. If not used together with a strong message authentication code, then encryption is vulnerable to a bit flipping attack. The cipher is also vulnerable to a stream cipher attack if not implemented correctly. Furthermore, inadvertent double encryption of a message with the same key may accidentally output plain text rather than ciphertext because the involutory nature of the XOR function would result in the second operation reversing the first. It is noteworthy, however, that Rc4, being a stream cipher, was for a period of time the only common cipher that was immune to the 2011 Beast attack on TLS 1.0. The attack exploits a known weakness in the way cipher blockchaining mode is used with all of the other ciphers supported by TLS 1.0, which are all block ciphers. In March 2013, there were new attack scenarios proposed by Isabi, Oegashi, Watanabe and Mori, as well as Alfaden, Bernstein, Patterson, Poettering and Schultz, that use new statistical biases in Rc4 key table to recover plain text with large number of TLS encryptions. The use of Rc4 in TLS is prohibited by RFC 7465 published in February 2015. Ruse biases and key reconstruction from permutation in 1995. Andrew Ruse experimentally observed that the first byte of the key stream is correlated to the first 3 bytes of the key, and the first few bytes of the permutation after the KSA are correlated to some linear combination of the key bytes. These biases remained unproven until 2007, when Gautam Paul, Sadeshwarathi and Subhammoy Mitra proved the key-stream key correlation, and in another work Gautam Paul and Subhammoy Mitra proved the permutation key correlations. The latter work also used the permutation key correlations to design the first algorithm for complete key reconstruction from the final permutation, after the KSA, without any assumption on the key or initialization vector. This algorithm has a constant probability of success in a time which is the square root of the exhaustive key search complexity. Subsequently, many other works have been performed on key reconstruction from Rc4 internal states. Subhammoy Mitra and Gautam Paul also showed that the ruse-type biases still persist even when one considers nested permutation indices, like SSI or SSSI. These types of biases are used in some of the later key reconstruction methods for increasing the success probability. Biased outputs of the Rc4. The key stream generated by the Rc4 is biased in varying degrees towards certain sequences, making it vulnerable to distinguishing attacks. The best such attack is due to its Sekmantan and R.D. Shamir, who showed that the second output byte of the cipher was biased toward 0 with probability 1/128th. This is due to the fact that if the third byte of the original state is 0, and the second byte is not equal to 2, then the second output byte is always 0. Such bias can be detected by observing only 256 bytes. Saurajit Paul and Bart Prenial of COSIC showed that the first and the second bytes of the Rc4 were also biased. The number of required samples to detect this bias is 225 bytes. The complete characterization of a single step of Rc4 PRGA was performed by Riddhi Prasham Basu, Shirshender Ganguly, Subhammoy Mitra, and Gautam Paul. Considering all the permutations, they proved that the distribution of the output is not uniform given I and j, and as a consequence, information about J is always leaked into the output. Flura, Manton and Shamir attack. In 2001, a new and surprising discovery was made by Flura, Manton and Shamir. Over all possible Rc4 keys, the statistics for the first few bytes of output key stream are strongly non-random, leaking information about the key. If the nonce and long-term key are simply concatenated to generate the Rc4 key, this long-term key can be discovered by analyzing a large number of messages encrypted with this key. This and related effects were then used to break the WEP encryption used with 802.11 wireless networks. This caused a scramble for a standards-based replacement for WEP in the 802.11 market, and led to the IEEE 802.11 IFIT and WPA. Protocols can defend against this attack by discarding the initial portion of the key stream. Such a modified algorithm is traditionally called Rc4 drop n, where n is the number of initial key stream bytes that are dropped. The scan default is n equals 768 bytes, but a conservative value would be n equals 3072 bytes. The Flura, Manton and Shamir attack does not apply to Rc4-based SSL, since SSL generates the encryption keys it uses for Rc4 by hashing, meaning that different SSL sessions have unrelated keys. Eric Shoes, Ralph Philip Weinman, and Andrei Pitchkin used this analysis to create Aircrack PTW. a tool which cracks 104-bit Rc4 used in 128-bit WEP in under a minute, whereas the Fleur, Mantin, and Shamir attack used around 10 million messages. Aircrack PTW can break 104-bit keys in 40,000 frames with 50% probability, or in 85,000 frames with 95% probability. Combinatorial problem. A combinatorial problem related to the number of inputs and outputs of the Rc4 cipher was first posed by Itzik Mantin and R.D. Shamir in 2001, whereby, of the total 256 elements in the typical state of Rc4, if X number of elements are only known, then the maximum number of elements that can be produced deterministically is also X in the next 256 rounds. This conjecture was put to rest in 2004 with a formal proof given by Surajit Paul and Bart Preneel. Royal Holloway attack. In 2013, a group of security researchers at the Information Security Group at Royal Holloway, University of London reported an attack that can become effective using only 224 encrypted messages, while yet not a practical attack for most purposes. This result is sufficiently close to one that it has led to speculation that it is plausible that some state cryptologic agencies may already have better attacks that render Rc4 insecure, given that as of 2013 a large amount of TLS traffic uses Rc4 to avoid recent attacks on block ciphers that use cipher blockchaining. If these hypothetical better attacks exist, then this would make the TLS with Rc4 combination insecure against such attackers in a large number of practical scenarios. In March 2015, researchers at Royal Holloway announced improvements to their attack, providing a 226 attack against passwords encrypted with Rc4, as used in TLS. Bar Mitzvah attack. On the Black Hat Asia 2015, Itzik Mantin presented another attack against SSL using Rc4 cipher. No more attack. In 2015, security researchers from Leuven presented new attacks against Rc4 in both TLS and WPATKIP. Dubbed the Numerous Occurrence Monitoring and Recovery Exploits Attack, it is the first attack of its kind that was demonstrated in practice. Their attack against TLS can decrypt a secure HTTP cookie within 75 hours. The attack against WPATKIP can be completed within an hour, and allows an attacker to decrypt and inject arbitrary packets. Rc4 variants. As mentioned above, the most important weakness of Rc4 comes from the insufficient key schedule. The first bytes of output reveal information about the key. This can be corrected by simply discarding some initial portion of the output stream. This is known as Rc4 drone, where n is typically a multiple of 256, such as 768 or 1024. A number of attempts have been made to strengthen Rc4, notably Spritz, Rc4A, VMPC, and Rc4+. Rc4A. Surajit Paul and Bart Preneel have proposed an Rc4 variant, which they call Rc4A. Rc4A uses two state arrays S1 and S2, and two indexes J1 and J2. Each time I is incremented, 2 bytes are generated. First, the basic Rc4 algorithm is performed using S1 and J1, but in the last step, S1I plus S1 J1 is looked up in S2. Second, the operation is repeated on S2 and J2, and S1, S2, I plus S2, J2 is output. Thus, the algorithm is: all arithmetic is performed modulo 256I equals 0 J1 equals 0 J2 equals 0 while generating output. I equals I plus 1 J1 equals J1 plus S1 I. Swap values of S1 I and S1 J1. Output S2 S1 I plus S1 J1 J2 equals J2 plus S2 I. Swap values of S2 I and S2 J2. Output S1 S2 I plus S2 J2. And while although the algorithm required the same number of operations per output byte, there is greater parallelism than Rc4, providing a possible speed improvement. Although stronger than Rc4, this algorithm has also been attacked, with Alexander Maximov in a team from NEC developing ways to distinguish its output from a truly random sequence. VMPC, variably modified permutation composition, is another Rc4 variant. It uses similar key schedule as Rc4, with J equals S mod 256, iterating 3 by 256 equals 768 times rather than 256. And with an optional additional 768 iterations to incorporate an initial vector. The output generation function operates as follows. All arithmetic is performed modulo 256. I equals 0 while generating output. Equals S I J equals S J plus A B equals S J. Output S S B plus 1 S I equals B S J equals AI equals I plus 1. And while this was attacked in the same papers as Rc4A, and can be distinguished within 238 output bytes, Rc4 Plus is a modified version of Rc4 with a more complex three-phase key schedule, and a more complex output function which performs 4 additional lookups in the S array for each byte output, taking approximately 1.7 times as long as basic Rc4. All arithmetic modulo 256. Less than and greater than a left and right shift is exclusive or while generating output. I equals I plus 1 A equals S I J equals J plus A B equals S J S I equals B S J equals AC equals S I less than 5 J greater than 3 plus S J less than 5 I greater than 3. Output S J plus B. And while this algorithm has not been analyzed significantly, Spritzer on Rivest and Jacob Schultz have proposed replacing Rc4 with an improved and slightly modified version dubbed Spritz. All arithmetic is performed modulo 256 while generating output. I equals I plus W J equals K plus S J plus S I K equals K plus I plus S J. Swap values of S I and S J. Output Z equals S J plus S I plus S Z plus K. And while the value W is relatively prime to the size of the S array, so after 256 iterations of this inner loop, the value I has taken on all possible values 0, 255, and every byte in the S array has been swapped at least once. Like other sponge functions, Spritz can be used to build a cryptographic hash function, or deterministic random bit generator, an encryption algorithm that supports authenticated encryption with associated data, etc. Rc4-based protocols. WEP, WPA, BitTorrent protocol encryption, Microsoft Office XP, Microsoft point-to-point encryption, Transport Layer Security, Secure Sockets Layer, Secure Shell, Remote Desktop Protocol, Kerberos, SASL Mechanism Digest MD5, GP Code, AK, an early June 2008 computer virus for Microsoft Windows, which takes documents hostage for ransom by obscuring them with Rc4 and RSA1024 encryption. PDF. Skype, where a protocol is marked with Rc4 is one of multiple ciphers the system can be configured to use.